Greetings, Dr. Joseph Martin. The seven chakras and the seven-year cycles of human nature. That means we'll be going through linking up the seven chakras that we've just done in the previous video, from the root chakra all the way up to the crown chakra, with the seven-year cycles of human life. So we'll go from birth to 7, 7 to 14, 14 to 21, 21 to 28, 28 to 35, 35 to 42, and 42 to 49. Now, we know from psychology, we know from spiritual science, we know from biology of the human body and our nervous systems and immune systems and organs and how they develop, that according to all these things, spiritual science, psychology, and biology, our human being develops in 7-year cycles. Now, obviously, we could go from 49 up to 98, and we will do that in further ones because many of us will live to be over 100 years, but that would be a second level of 7-year cycles from 49 years to 98 years. So let's start at the beginning. This is something that's come to me recently. I've never read about it before, but you know what? When you tune into the cosmos, sometimes your heart just starts to know things as we all evolve as a deepening psychological spiritual beings. So here goes. From birth to 7 years is what we could call the connection to, or the symbolic connection to the root chakra, the first chakra. And you might want to look at the previous video to listen to that first if you're opening to this one. The root chakra in the first 7 years of a life it's all automatic, it's all bodily, it's all material, it's the baby learning to just do all the functions that are unconscious for itself. They're automatic, they're just biological functions that the baby needs and knows how to do, such as how to suckle from its mother's breast, when to sleep, how to digest its food, all on the milk food, all on its own, when to eliminate, and so on, and just the physical comforts, the soul coming back from the spirit world after a sojourn between lives, because this, of course, we know that reincarnation is a truth for human beings. And as the body starts to grow over the first 7 years, the soul needs to feel comfortable in the physical form. So the sleeping, the eating, the elimination, and so on. And then just coming to awakening of being again in a body. And of course, the forgetfulness of everything in the spirit world, unless one has a conscious birth, which I happen to have had, and you can see and read about it in my book, my autobiography, Living in Two Worlds, A Life of Love. It might interest you, give you a bit of a heads up. And so all of this happens in the first 7 years, and this is the biological aspect of the root chakra. And in this part, of course, is the beginning of a physical separation from the mother, in that the child learns to feed and eat on its own, and walk about and do a few things on its own, to crawl, to stand, to walk, to run. The second chakra is related to the second 7-year cycle, ages 7 years to 14 years. Now, this is the sexual energy of the second chakra, but it's not really, it's just preparing the child for some kind of a sexual energy movement towards just the issue of sexuality. But the sexual chakra energy is something far more important. It's the creative energy. It's the creative energy of the child learning to think for its first time on its own, to create its own sense of logic. We know from developmental psychology that the ages of 7 to 14 are when the child learns to think for itself and to dream and to wish and create goals for its life and start to think more about the future, not just the present. This age is very, very critical. It's a creative age. It's like thinking and hoping and dreaming about skills and life and goals. And this is what sexual energy is about. It's a creative process. It's about experimenting. It's about having adventures and journeys and sports and exercise and trying out different things and swimming and running and baseball and hockey and diving and so on. All these wonderful things. And starting to read on one's own. read lovely stories and journeys of other people, adventures of animals. All these things are highly important and tied into what we call the energies of the second chakra. It's meant to be an adventure. This is a very important, critical time for young people. It's a time when they socialize as well. It's a time when they learn to realize what's the difference between self and others and learning how to share toys and be games and so be team players on teams. And this is why sports is so essential, particularly team sports, as well as individual sports between the ages of 7 and 14 years. The freedom to play, because play is an adventure and in a time when children between the ages of 7 and 14 realize there's so much chaos, loneliness, catastrophe, death, and sorrow on the planet, they need to have the freedom and the joy to learn to play, be free to play. And of course, there are a lot of international organizations, NGOs, that give the right to play and the freedom to play to people and kids all over the world. Mostly the kids is what we're interested in here at this time. So the third chakra, the will to power, is the time between the ages of 14 to 21. The will to power is like self-assertion and self-command and self-mastery. And of course, any of you who know teenagers or yourselves or have children between the ages of 14 to 21, you know the necessity and the essential psychological maturation process of the need to rebel, to find one's own way, to separate psychologically and emotionally from the parents and the adults and the extended family and maybe even the teachers. And this will to power is self-determination. It's an absolute necessary step of psychological growth, and it's all around the willpower and the self-assertion and trying to gain a self-direction through self-assertion in order to gain self-confidence and self-esteem. And it's done in the sense of further relationships with peers as well. And of course, this is the time of the hormones have come, there's sexual maturation of the physical body, the biological body, and a lot of sexual experimentation with those of the same sex, which is very important and necessary, and with those of the other sex to try to determine whether or not one is gay, lesbian, straight, transvestite, or bisexual. And we have other videos on these very important, necessary psychological identities. So that's very important to let teenagers between the ages of 14 and 21 years find their own way without too much control and domination, but just with some guided, healthy boundaries by parents, teachers, and adults in order to give some comfort. And this is the time where mentoring is needed the most for these young people. A kind of fine balance and harmony between letting them explore and on their own. And of course, traditionally the native peoples of the world have allowed their children much more freedom to explore and to find adventures. And that's why in some cases it would be a good idea for non-native peoples of the world to not be so controlling and domineering with their kids. Give them the trust, the freedom, and the love, and primarily the love here, to feel the confidence to go out and explore on their own in every way. Obviously sexually, but we're speaking here more socially and finding their own way, their own goals and dreams in life. The fourth chakra is the ages. That's the chakra of the heart, of course, the romance, the passion, the self-confidence, the self-esteem, the looking for love, the looking for a really healthy, proper relationship. This is the ages of 21 to 28 years. Between these ages is a time where someone needs to really step out on their own as a young adult, male, female, whatever, and to really look for true friendships, authentic, real friendships, to realize that having masks and persona and being an automaton, always reacting, is not the way to be, but to find a real, true, authentic inner self as it's becoming, always becoming, so that this young person, 21 to 28 years, can start to live a life with heart. This is the key. not to be subsumed by the socialized automaton to try to fit in and fit into either a corporate world or a business world or a family world, but to really step into one's heart and step out for oneself and find true love for oneself and others and find what true friendship can be. This is a time when deep friendships, if they are real and authentic, will be lifelong. And this is what all young people this age, and so they tell me because I have a lot of young friends that age, worldwide, all cultures, backgrounds, religions, ethnicities, and orientations, all young people 21 to 28 are looking for this heart friendships. The fifth chakra, which is about speaking one's truth, opening up, and doing some inward thinking and reflecting, is the ages of 28 to 35. Now, this is the time of the midlife crisis. Jung used to say that midlife crises used to happen between 35 and 40 years of age, but my knowing from 40 years of being a psychologist is that the midlife crisis, as we're evolving as a species, is happening earlier, and it happens during the Saturn return of 28 to 30 years of age, and therefore all the way through from 28 to 35. It's the time when you're really questioning yourself and wondering who you are and where you want to be in the world, not just in terms of marriage and relationships and children or having no children as you so choose or desire or need, but it's about how do I fit as a unique individual into this world, apart from the patriarchy or the matriarchy, and apart from my parents in school, and apart from my peers. Who am I? Why am I here? What am I doing here? What's my highest and best purpose? And what will make me meaningfully happy here on this planet? Now, the chakras are aligned in certain ways. The third and the fifth are aligned. So, what occurred for people between the ages of 14 to 21 as teenagers comes back full circle on a higher level of maturation between 28 and 35. And what happens here is all the things you were rebelling against and the things that you were moving towards, you need to reassess and reflect upon here at this time. And only this will help you through your midlife crisis. If you don't, you could go into addictions and start to spiral down into depression and loneliness and separation from all of life, including all your friends. This is a time when you need to go into therapy and sort all this out. All the unconscious stuff that was going on in childhood and in teenage years, especially. The shadow, the complexes, the ego. It's a time to sort out where the soul can come in and be awakened and be healing the ego and issues from teenage years. Very essential. The sixth chakra, which is the self realization through opening to light and the third eye and opening to the greater cosmos, that your life isn't all just about yourself, nor about what happens here on planet Earth. It's about who you are in the cosmos and how you're connected to the unity of the cosmos and your past and present and future lives and where you've been before and in other earth lives. As the Buddha said, we've had millions of earth lives, and where your soul resides in other areas of the cosmos as a reality. And in this time, therefore, it's a deepening crisis from 35 to 42 years of age. A deepening midlife crisis. You may still have a deepening, deeper, higher levels to reflect upon, to meditate upon. Very essential to do meditation and yoga at this point to get yourself through this. If you're going to succeed and stay healthy and have a long, creative, happy life with perfect friendships and love, you do need to do more psychotherapy and healing energetically at this time. It's a time of coming to consciousness. It's linked to the time of 7 to 14 years, this time from 35 to 42. All those dreams you had as a child of who you wanted to be, how you wanted to be, where you wanted to be, those come back full circle in a higher relationship, a higher spiral, if you like. And so you must consider, am I in the right profession? Am I in the right relationship? Am I in on my own soul path? Is my ego reacting, or am I self-directed proactively through my soul? This is a time when many people divorce and separate from their first marriage because they realized when they got married, if they married early in their 20s or 30s, even, that the marriage is no longer working. They married their opposite. They married someone very different, someone who wasn't as open or as feeling. And people tend to separate if they married their mother or father in their first marriage. They tend to separate as they realize that their soul and their emotions and their feelings are no longer happy with the situation, and that necessarily, with no judgment, that people, your partner and you, are growing apart. There's no judgment, there's no shame, there's no blame. This happens naturally. It's a cycle of maturation over your lifetime. Be honest, be courageous, have the guts to do what you need to do, and have the integrity to create wholeness in your life once again by doing what is right for you, your partner, and your children, if you happen to have children. Only you can make yourself happy. So 35 to 42, turning 40 is a big psychological crisis for many people. You need to reassess who you are, go into psychotherapy, spend lots of time in meditation, do a lot of journal writing, go for long walks out in the woods and the forest, and listen to your inner heart and soul most of all. Your heart knows who you are and who you need to be with, and trust that process. This is highly, highly important. This crisis will only get worse. It could somaticize into all kinds of physical illnesses, emotional repressions and shutdowns, which will somaticize into the body and organs, and can create a lot of mental illness, depression, loneliness, sadness, and grieving, which is partly conscious and also unconscious. Very, very essential between 35 and 42 to reassess everything in your life, including your attitude towards yourself, finding deeper self-worth, and also which relationships serve you and which don't. The ones that serve you, deepen those friendships and create new ones. The relationships that don't, you can simply let them go and be friends. The seventh chakra, which is the crown chakra of full enlightenment, the feeling, experience, and knowing, and the wisdom of being one with the cosmos, thereby being one with your soul and being one with the spirit world, being one with your physical body, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. This unity consciousness, the super consciousness of the Christ and the cosmic consciousness, if you like, this is a throwback to the first series of years between birth and 7 years when the soul was having experiences. You know, many children have that unity, that higher soulful look in their eyes when they're born, and hopefully can carry it through to 7 years and all the way through, as long as nobody outside kills their spirit. So hopefully your spirit stayed alive between birth and 7 years, and if it didn't, then go do some psychotherapy between 42 and 49 years and really deeply meditate and find your spiritual source. Find the source in your heart, which is the source of all that is in the universe. We all have the source right here. It's not outside only necessarily, it is in everyone, but for you, you need to feel and experience every moment here in your heart. 42 to 49 years is the time to maturation, where you become a full spiritual divine human being. Very essential. When you do this, and as you work through all your inner and outer conflicts with relationships to yourself, to your significant others and family members and friends and business associates and clients, you will stop being reactive and poor me and lonely and depressed and wanting to commit suicide. You will in fact find the deepening source of all love, happiness, truth, joy, peace, beauty, and love inside you at this time. You can find this at any time. It's not only in the 42 to 49 years. Some of you can mature early, but you want to carry it on past your 49 years as well. But that will be the substance of another video when we deal with the years 49 to 98 and beyond. This trusting of yourself, finding your soul, finding your heart, finding your love, finding your highest and greatest self-worth is an ongoing day-by-day process. It's one step at a time. Have the integrity and the wholeness and the intention every day to do all you can to find yourself, to self-realize, to, as Abraham Maslow would say, self-actualize. Find the beauty, the happiness, the joy within. Follow your bliss, as Joseph Campbell would say. All this can be happening for you every day, wherever you are on your life path cycle. It really is about having the inner marriage, as Carl Jung would say, the eros gamos, which is a Greek term meaning the sacred inner marriage, when your body, mind, and ego marry your soul and spirit that are eternal, immortal, and transcendent. So here in this immanent world of the physical three dimensions, your transcendent soul can become one with you. When you do and experience this sacred inner marriage, as I have through all my years of Jungian analysis and therapy and self-reflection and Kundalini Kriya Yoga, you can find for yourself the unity within yourself. And then, thereby, if you choose, you may find your sacred soul marriage with another individual who's on the same path and doing the same work, inner work, that you are as well. And the true nature of soul marriage is to support one another in an egoless way so that the other can develop as highly and as best as they can, as they choose, and as they need. And love and friendship is there to support the other in a sacred soul marriage. I hope this has been useful for you. Love to hear from you anytime. Dr. Joseph Martin, may all the joy and love and truth in your heart lead you on the path of wholeness and maturation. All love and blessings. Om Namah Shivaya.